There we are. We're live. Hey, welcome to today's Q&A. My name is Jessie, here with Decker Truckline, and here to answer questions. Fill you in on what's going on, of course, here at Decker, what available positions we have, and answer any questions you might have along the way. So if you have a moment and want to say hi, the chat, it's over to my right. So if you want to say hi in the chat, please do. Also, let me know where you're tuning in from. If you are wondering about a specific position, that way I can kind of get more specific for you on what's available for you out of your neck of the woods. So hey Danny, hey Riley, how are you two? Good to have both of you on here. So this is a Q&A. So like I said, any questions that you have, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going because that's what I like to talk, I guess. I'll try to keep it to the point. First of all, we do have both solo and the audio sounds good today. Good. Yes. A success. I've had a few where, I switch things around and then I don't have the audio. So thank you, Danny. I appreciate it. Yes, we have a few solo positions. We also have team opportunities. I've brought up the team opportunities a couple of times in the last few weeks. They're very specific on the location for where we have this availability, at least for the dedicated position, which I think probably makes sense. So that said, I do want to go over those details. The dedicated teams opportunity, we're hiring anywhere between Denver, Colorado, and Chicago, Illinois. So those are along that route on I-80. So you must be on I-80. And you must be between Denver and Chicago. So again, this is a dedicated opportunity. It is a team opportunity. And yes, you are home weekly. It is refrigerated. You have the weekly pay. So you get paid every Friday, direct deposit. But then you also have the opportunity for a mileage bonus for the team that's paid the third pay period of the month following when you ran it. So anything that you completed within March for miles, you'll get paid the third pay period of April. So that would be the 17th, 24th, somewhere around there. Yeah. So you'd be getting paid that extra bonus. Now with our teams, especially with this dedicated position, with our teams, you're looking at about 24,000 miles a month, which on average, and that right there is the top of the bonus. So you get an extra 8 cents a mile, 4 cents a piece, because that's split to the truck. So an extra 8 cents a mile that's paid on all of the miles completed for that month. That's only for the bonus. Please note that. So that's roughly an extra 1,000, 1,500 a piece for the mileage bonus. But the weekly pay, of course, is direct deposit every Friday. That one pays the base of 60 cents a mile, 10 cents per diem, is of that 60 cents a mile is per diem. And then again, that's split. So it's 30 a piece, 5 cents per diem a piece. So that kind of gives you an idea on the team pay. That is team pay only. As far as solo positions, the rate of pay per mile is based off of your individual experience. So back to the team, we do offer a sign-on bonus. And that's based off of your individual experience level. So if you have at least 2 years of tractor trailer experience and no more than 3 jobs within the last 18 months, then you would qualify for that sign-on bonus. And again, that sign-on bonus for this position is a $4,000 sign-on bonus. You get paid $1,000 at 6 months, $1,000 at 9 months, and then the remaining $2,000 on your 1 year anniversary. So 6, 9, and 12 months for that sign-on bonus. And again, that's dependent on the individual. So if both those team members have at least 2 years experience, and both of you have less than 3 or fewer jobs within the last 18 months, then you would each qualify for that $4,000 sign-on bonus. So I kind of dove into information right away. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I just want to go over some of the available positions that we have, and so that you're in the loop, and then we can answer some of those questions as they come in. So again, that is the dedicated refrigerated position. Also to note, with the dedicated position, not only is it home weekly, but you're probably, well, not probably, you will be handling the freight with that dedicated position. So you're rolling the carts on and you're rolling the carts off. They're bread loads. So I was going to say they're not heavy, but they are heavy. It's about 400 pounds. But because they're on wheels, they're not bad. But you're still lumbering them, rolling them on and rolling them off. And then you'll be putting, rolling the loaded ones off, putting empty ones on, and then vice versa at the other location. So, yeah, that's process. Oh, and so then you get an extra $50 for the lumbering on the loads. So, yes. As far as equipment for our team opportunity, we do have mostly Peterbilts. We have 579 Petes. We have some 589 Petes. 579, 589, yep. We have a few Volvos, 860 for the refrigerated division, and then a few Freightliner Cascadia Evolutions. By far, the majority of the equipment, or the majority of the trucks, are Peterbilts. Mostly the 579s. But they're all very well maintained, and they all come very well equipped. APUs, inverters, refrigerators, microwaves, CB units, 22-inch television, plus Epic View satellite streaming, or Epic View streaming, not satellite. We did satellite before, now we're streaming. As far as the streaming, it comes with 100 plus channels, but as far as the streaming, it also provides free Wi-Fi through that as well. And again, that's Epic View, which is a DirecTV. And then, so microwave, refrigerator, APU, what am I missing? We have CB units in all of the trucks. Most of those are the Cobra 29s. And then we have bunk heaters, of course, in the trucks as well. They are double bunk trucks, if you didn't know that. Whether you're a team or you're a solo, they are all double bunk trucks. And now I'm kind of going over the equipment as if you are a team, but please note that the amenities they're the same whether you're in flatbed or refrigerated or solo or team. The amenities are going to be the same. It's just with the flatbed, you're looking at a possibility of a 740 Volvo versus an 860 Volvo. Other than that, I'd say they're about the same. I think everything else is pretty much the same. Obviously, a headache rack on a flatbed, but yeah, the team opportunities are refrigerated, and yes, we do have some over-the-road team opportunities as well, so that would be beyond just the I-80 between Denver and Chicago, but I highly suggest you either ask here in the chat so that I can give you a yes or no on whether or not we have availability for team in your area, or call this number. Where's my number? 877-433-2537. That's the number to the recruiting department. They'll be able to tell you yes or no on whether or not we have available team opportunities out of your area. But I do know for a fact that their team opportunities right now are solely refrigerated. Cool? All right. As far as like qualifications, we can work with 6 months of experience, but you wouldn't qualify for the sign-on bonus. So even though I was giving you what I gave you earlier for the sign-on bonus information, that doesn't necessarily disqualify you if you had, if you only had a year of experience or only had 6 months of experience. It just would disqualify you from the sign-on bonus. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully. Okay. As far as solo positions, we do, like I said, we can work with 6 months of experience. We have both refrigerated and flatbed opportunities. If you are looking for an over-the-road flatbed opportunity, we require that your experience be flatbed specific. So keep that in mind. Must be flatbed specific if you're looking for a flatbed over-the-road opportunity. We do train in flatbed if you have, 6 months of experience but it's refrigerated, or a year of experience but it's refrigerated or dry van. We can still train you in the flatbed, but we need the 6 months experience so that we can get you moving forward. And yes, number of jobs, previous jobs, does come into account. It's not as much as, it doesn't weigh as heavily as it did for the sign-on bonus, but obviously we're always looking at quality applicants. Speaking of, let's talk about qualifications, because that is key, right? No major moving violations within the last 3 years, no DOT reportable accidents within the last 3 years. And let me back up and say, when it comes to major moving violations, some quick little references are 15 over ticket is a major moving violation. So can't have a 15 over speeding ticket, can't have a following too close or an erratic lane change, or they say following too close. What's another one? Reckless, careless, DUIs, DWIs, rear end. Those are all considered major moving violations. We also have the same restrictions on any preventable DOT recordable accidents. So no preventable accidents, DOT recordable accidents within the last 3 years either. So now if you were hit, it's a different story, because those are questions that I get every now and then is, okay, well, I was in a DOT recordable accident, but I wasn't found at fault. Well, if you were not found at fault, that's not held against you, and we can move forward with your application. So and everybody has a little bit different take on this, so I want to kind of specify. So if the accident report shows that you were at fault, then you would be at fault. Now, if you were, and I mean in the description and everything, now if you weren't necessarily ticketed for the accident, that doesn't mean that you weren't at fault. Some quick references are, if you had a ticket, or if there's a fatality or an injury, or even if the insurance deemed it a high expense, those would all be considered DOT recordable accidents. Now, with the accident report, sometimes we can look at the accident report and say, oh, you know what? No, this is showing that the other party was in fact at fault. So that's why it's nice to get the accident report. I kind of veered off of this one, but that is why it's nice to get the accident report, in case it can take the guilt away from you in certain scenarios. So if you have questions, just ask your recruiter. They'll be able to tell you. But yeah, no major moving violations, no DOT recordable accidents within the last 3 years. Those are major qualifying factors. So, as far as the hiring process, if you meet those criteria, then put in an application. You can go to drivedecker.com. You can also call this number, but in order to move forward with the application, you would need to apply at drivedecker.com. Fill that application out, and then they'll go through the process of running your MVR and getting your employment history and getting all of that taken care of for the last employment history for the last 3 years. Getting all that taken care of ahead of time so that we can move forward into the next process of the hiring, which would be having you do an online orientation. Now, the online orientation consists of a number of modules. Some of those modules are videos followed by a few questions. Some of those are maybe an image or an interactive image followed by a few questions, or an article followed by a few questions. And those modules make up our online orientation. And we have you complete that before you come in to Fort Dodge for the actual in-person orientation, because it cuts down on a whole lot of your time. And there are things that you can do on your own instead of having to be in a classroom environment for that. We also have you do your physical and your drug tests ahead of time. Don't worry, if you have a physical that's good for another 6 months or so, or a year, we can probably use that. Just double check with the recruiter, because there are certain scenarios, like if your physical is brand new and it's only good for 6 months, well, that wouldn't meet our criteria, so we'll have to get a new physical for you. But if you had a physical a year ago or almost a year ago, and it's got at least another 6 months on it, yeah, that would qualify you. That would work. So we'll just need the long form, and then we can sign off on that and use that. We'll still need to schedule your physical or your drug tests. We do both the hair follicle and the urinalysis, so we'll still need to schedule that for you. But we do our very best to make it easy and convenient and schedule them where you're at, or if you're headed somewhere, if you're still driving and for somebody and you need to, I don't know, you're going to Indianapolis or something, and you're like, hey, can you make an appointment for me in Indy? Then we can make those arrangements. Just trying to make it more convenient for you so you're not having to deal with that hassle. But we'll schedule it, we'll give you the information so that you can go and get that taken care of ahead of time before you come to Fort Dodge. And the really nice part about that is, like I said earlier, you can do that ahead of time, and it doesn't cut into your orientation time, so it doesn't extend that to a week or 2 weeks even. I don't know many that do it that long, but it doesn't extend your orientation time, which means that you can start making money, which is what your goal is, I'm sure. Start making money sooner when you come aboard. So that's the online orientation process. So like I said, we'll do your physical and your drug test, which both the hair follicle and the urinalysis, and then we'll schedule you for an in-person orientation, which starts on Mondays. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for experienced drivers, and we pay you $500 for completing orientation. We'll get your transportation here, which normally is a rental car. Sometimes, if you're coming from Washington State or something like that, or Georgia, maybe you're flying, and so we'll make arrangements for you, flight arrangements, but just depends on your preference and where you're coming from, and availability. That's another factor, of course. So we'll take care of that. And then I should mention, now we take care of all of those expenses, but we do have a repayment agreement that we have you sign when you come in. And that is, you are only responsible for that if you left within the first 6 months. So if you decide, a few months in that you're going to leave, then you'd be responsible for a portion of it, not the whole thing, because every month we knock $100 off of whatever that amount was, and that amount is going to be based off of the expense of the flight or rental car and fuel, or that kind of stuff, hotel. That expense is individualized to the cost to get you going specifically, not you and somebody else, or what someone from Washington costs versus somebody from Kansas City, coming to Fort Dodge. So keep that in mind. And yeah, $100 is knocked off every month. So if you had a total of, let's say it was $600, and every month we'd knock $100 off. Let's say it was $1,500, and then you come at the 6-month mark. Doesn't matter how much is left on that repayment agreement, because it's null and void at that point. You've been here the 6 months. So you were only responsible if you were to leave us before that. What else can I tell you? Orientation's 3 days. You do go through a lot of the company policies and procedures. You'll go through, you actually walk through the truck with the maintenance department, and they've kind of got a checklist of, all of the different amenities that you'll be receiving. And they'll go through that, make sure you understand how they work, because if you are somebody who has never had an APU, you might want a few tips on how to work that. Especially some of the different models have techniques, they might work, what do I say, they might have a little different troubleshooting than others. If they're not working properly, some of them you just got to crank all the way on and then all the way off and then turn it to the temperature. I don't know why, but that's how they work, and they work. But there's some tricks to it, and so we kind of go through all of that, and you can find out most of those on our YouTube channel. So if you kind of nose around on our channel, you'll be able to see some of that. But yeah, during orientation, the maintenance department will go through a lot of those amenities with you, so that A, you know how to use them, but B, you know that you have them. Because like I said, we've got the refrigerator and the microwave, and I'm pretty sure you know how to use the refrigerator and microwave, but we have the DirecTV, the Epic View, and maybe you might need some instructions on that. or learning a little bit about the lytic system. The lytic system is one of our safety features. It includes the inward and outward facing event recorder, lane departure speed gauge. I mean, it covers all of that. And we have 2 bonuses each month. One of them being the safety bonus, which is again based off of the lytic system. So that's why it's nice to kind of understand how it works and where it's at and all that good stuff. The other one is the scorecard bonus, so I'll talk about that here in a second too. As far as equipment, they are a newer model, and like I said, we've got tons of amenities on them. And when it comes to the orientation, once you kind of go through that, then you're assigned your truck, and usually you're dispatched out shortly after that. You'll meet your driver leader. Before you're dispatched out, you'll meet your driver leader. Usually your recruiter will introduce themselves to you in person, and then you'll go and get introduced to your driver leader at that point. So driver leader, a lot of you guys would refer to as a fleet manager or dispatcher even. Just a little bit different expectations as far as we're concerned for the driver leader than a fleet manager. Holding them a little bit more accountable. There we go. And what else can I tell you as far as orientation? I think that's about it. Oh, hotels, we take care of your hotel and your meals while you're here. They are solo rooms unless you're bringing a team member, and then usually then in that case they would be a one room and obviously a double bed, so, or 2 queens, I guess. Either way, if you're coming in as a solo driver, we're not shacking you up with anybody, is what I'm saying. I think I hit on most of that. You're usually dispatched out around Thursday morning and getting to work, right? You've got your $500 for completing orientation. We do have a minimum pay that we offer, so you have at least $1,000. Some of the divisions, like our Midwest Flatbed division, does offer a $1,450 in some areas, but most of them at least $1,000, and the $1,000 will that's pre-tax. I think that's probably obvious to most of you, but just in case, it's the $1,000 or the minimum pay is pre-taxed and pre-insurance at that point. So if you have insurance, then that would be deducted from it. Obviously not the first week. Insurance doesn't start until your 60th day of employment, but the first week you'll get probably that minimum pay, since you're really not able to get a whole lot of miles in by Tuesday, which is when our cutoff is. So you'll be dispatched, well, you might get them actually, depending on if you're dispatched later or earlier on Thursday, is usually what would depend on that. But you get your paperwork in by Tuesday night, and you get paid Friday on those. So that's where that cutoff is, and that's why we have that minimum pay, just in case. Because it's nice to kind of have a budget when you're starting a new position. It is. It's nice to know what to expect, because there's always that leg when you first start up with someone. So yeah, but again, if you have any questions on it, 877-433-2537. That's the recruiting department. They'll be able to fill you in. So, what am I missing? Let's talk a little bit about flatbed, because I hit on the teens. Before flatbed, with the refrigerated, we have home every 11 days available to you for 3 days. And then we have the more over-the-road refrigerated, which is about 2 to 3 weeks out at a time, and then home for 4 to 5 days. So depending on what your home time is, would determine more of where your running lanes are. If you're running out west, you're probably out 2 to 3 weeks at a time. But obviously, when you're out on the road, for every 7 days you're out, it's a day and a half home time. So that's going to be longer. Your home time will be longer the longer you're out on the road. So yeah. As far as flatbed, we have our Midwest Flatbed opportunities. That one, we have home weekly opportunities, and then we have home every other weekend. And it's not always on the weekend, but it's usually for a 34, and it most often than not lines up on the weekend. So coming on like a Friday night or a Saturday morning, and then leaving back out either Sunday night or early Monday morning, usually for a Monday morning delivery. So that's pretty common. If you are looking for, what do I want to say? If you're looking to stay out a little bit longer, you can make sure that you're talking to your fleet manager though, because sometimes staying out a little bit longer can throw off not only your home time, but can throw off that minimum pay. So make sure the qualifications for the minimum pay. Speaking of, let's talk about that. You need to be available for dispatch at least 5 days out of the week in order to qualify for the minimum pay. Do know though that minimum pay is more of a safety net. That's not something that you want to, that's not your goal. The minimum pay is just that. It's a safety net. Your rate of pay per mile, and which is based off your experience level, and the number of miles you run, that's what you want. That's going to be usually outpaid every time. But there are certain situations, whether they be weather related or equipment related, whatever, that factor in, and so that's why we have that minimum pay. Now we do pay detention and layover and mechanical breakdown, so those are out there as well if and when you qualify for them. But otherwise, we have that minimum pay. But your rate of pay per mile is going to be based off your years of experience. Now, the qualifications for the minimum pay: be available for dispatch at least 5 days out of the week, which means know your hours, having a good handle of your hours of service, and showing available as soon as you are available instead of delaying. Because if you're showing available late on a Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday, when you should have been or could have been available earlier based off of your hours, then you're not utilizing or maximizing your hours at that point, right? So make sure that you're doing a good job and understand your hours of service. So be available for dispatch 5 days out of the week. No load refusals, no late loads, no service failures, no CSA violations for the week. That finger doesn't bend, there we go. And no preventable accidents for the week. And get your paperwork in on time. So the 6 qualifications. Paperwork has to be in by Tuesday night in order to qualify for that minimum pay. And then paid on Friday. So again, if your miles and your rate of pay per mile exceed that of the minimum pay, you'll get the better of the two, which is usually the case. All right. What else? Flatbed, refrigerated. I think we pretty much covered it. All right. Benefits start after 60 days, and usually around 21 days or so, we'll have you make sure that you filled out your insurance information so that they have it all ready to go come your 60 days. Because once you hit your 60 days, you want to be able to utilize that insurance, and that's medical, dental, vision, prescription. So if you are on a prescription, there's a ton of savings with our $0 copays on generic, and we have prescription. We'll have specialty. That's the word I was looking for, or even brand name prescriptions that are all $0 copay, so they can save you quite a bit. So take advantage of that. Yeah. What else? Benefits 40. We have a 401k with a 25% match on that one. Also starts after 60 days. So we'll walk you through all that if you have questions. But if you're looking to come aboard to Decker and you want more information, get a hold of the recruiting department, 877-433-2537. That'll get you started. Other than that, those are the updates for the available positions this week, and we'll be back next Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday is tax day? Oh dear. Have you guys got your taxes in yet? Yeah. All right. We're not going there. All right. So, we'll see you guys next Tuesday here at noon Central. Join me for a new update on any of the available positions. Again, currently we have refrigerated and flatbed opportunities. We have solo mostly, but we do have a couple of team opportunities. One of those team opportunities. All right, let's slow down and use our words. One of those team opportunities is a dedicated opportunity. So again, if you want more information on that, it's 877-433-2537. There you go. All right, have a wonderful rest of your week. It is starting to be beautiful in my neck of the woods, so I'm hoping you guys get to experience a little bit of beautiful vitamin D yourselves, and a little bit of sunshine, and take a walk. It is, April is stress-free or stress awareness month. So taking a walk, listening to music, absorbing some of that sunshine is always a good day, or always a good way to just kind of release your stress. So enjoy your day. We will see you next week. And we're also on our Facebook page at 4 p.m. Central on Monday. So if you want to join us then, we'll be there too. All right, take care, you guys.